I need it to lock. I guess it's not gonna lock. Okay, so I'm live at the laundromat in the van, and wow, man, my hair's a mess. It's all windy and everything. Boy. Yeah, so how many people checked out Jeffrey's show? It was pretty good, huh? He talked about something that I wanted to talk about earlier, and I told you guys I couldn't talk about it. Well, let's talk about it a little bit. Hi, Bobby. How are you? Yeah. Hi, Mark. Yeah, he talked about something that I thought it was pretty cool, really. Let me see if I get this thing. I want it to stay all by itself without me touching it. But let me see. How's that? I'm not touching it. I hope it stays. I got it wedged in the steering wheel. No, it's not staying. Okay. I guess it's not going to stay. Okay. So, I think it might stay this time. If it moves, I'll just catch it again. But I'm doing pretty good. Been pretty busy. Been pretty busy, man. This week was blessings week. God is good. Always, always. Okay? He really took care of us this week. Like the van I'm sitting in, the water pump went out. $700. But an angel sent me some money and paid for most of it. And then the AC in our house went out, and it was hot. But it's cooled down, this week. But we got it fixed. I have a friend and a nephew that work in the what do you call it? We're fixing air conditioning units on houses. Well, the guy that owns the business. Hi, Rachel. The guy that owns the business. Actually, what happened was the motor went out, and when it did, it caused a capacitor to go out. So it's going to be about a $1,500, and that's a low ball number. It was going to be $1,500 or more to fix it. Wound up being free. The guy that owned the business donated the motor and the capacitor. Or actually, he didn't donate the capacitor. We went to buy the capacitor. It was going to be $58, but we didn't have a contractor license, so they wouldn't let us buy the capacitor. And we're saying, oh, come on, there's a little old lady living in there, my mom, she's 82, and, just let us buy it just this one time, come on. And the guy's like, no, sorry, can't do it. And the other two previous places we went to, they wouldn't sell it either. But there was a guy in there that was hearing what we were saying, and he came out and he says, hey, I'll buy it for you. You just give me the cash. We're like, okay. So we went in and bought it. It was $58. That's with tax and everything. And when he was in there doing that, I realized all I had was $11 in a bank card. And when he came out, I told him I have the money, but it's on a bank card. All I have cash is $11. Let me run to the bank. He says, you know what? I'm in a really good mood today. I just want to help you guys. So give me your $11. And he gave us the capacitor for $11. So we wound up getting the AC fixed for $11. And we paid for the van, of course, the whole amount, but if that angel didn't send some money, we wouldn't have been able to fix the van, so we wouldn't have had that much money. So we had to add a little bit of money to it, but we got the van fixed. And then there was something else. and there was something else. Oh yeah, the my landlady. We had to pay the rent the same day. Okay, all this is all happening on the same day. The landlady has cancer. I would love for everybody to pray for her. Her name is Roxy. I won't give her last name, but you can pray for Roxy. So what I did was is I took pictures and a little bit of video of the AC unit being repaired and the parts. And when I went over there, I told her I have really good news. And when I started showing her the air conditioning unit being worked on, she was like, "Oh my God, I could see in her face panic, that isn't really good news. It was getting fixed. She thought that was the good news, but I told her, well, the really good news is it's not going to cost anything. We took care of it. And it actually went out a couple of days ago, but we don't want to worry you at all. So we just took care of it on our own." And then I told her the story about how it went down, and she started crying. And she started telling us about what's going on with her. The tumors went down, and she starts radiation, I think, here next week, and some other kind of chemo that where she's already lost her hair, but her hair will grow back now, and this other chemo is will not. It'll let her hair come back, and she also gained 20 pounds during chemo. So she was all happy, crying happy, and it almost made me cry. I mean, I was having a hard time not crying. And so that's how my week was. And then Adolf and I went out to the burned area, the other side of the canyon where I grew up, and it was burned. Everywhere was burned. I'm working on the video right now. I'm looking, it's taken me longer than I thought. Hey, Callie Bigfoots. It's taken me longer than I thought because I want to show, I have other pictures. I will pray for her. In fact, let's pray for cancer right now. All the people that we know that has cancer, we command the cancer to die. It cannot live in these bodies. In Jesus' name, amen. That's it. Okay. So we went out there, and everything's burned. All my childhood camp areas where I grew up, burned. Everywhere, miles burned. I can't wait to show you guys a video. It's that was a biblical fire. It burned because I put out a video earlier of the other side of the river canyon, Shaver Lake, Huntington, showing all the burned areas there. It was miles and miles on that side of the river canyon. And then this time we went on the other side to see how bad. It was maybe worse. It burned into the wilderness. It burned for miles. It burned so hot that the trees were burned, and all there was a hole where the trees were. They burned all the way down to the ground, and then the roots burned too. So it just left holes where the trees were. There was a lot of places where there was no burned trees, just maybe some stumps and a few trees. It burned worse than I've ever seen, ever. Oh, I got a message. I'll have to look later. But yeah, so I'm working on that. And what's taking me longer is I have other pictures and stuff like that from the past where in camping and stuff like that. And when I'm showing certain areas, I want to put pictures of what it used to look like. So it gives you an idea of really how bad the fire was. I mean, I don't, for the people that live around here, we went all the way from North Fork to Granite Creek, which is the edge of the wilderness. You can't drive further than that. And it used to be the most beautiful area. It has a swimming hole. As a kid, I swam in it, and then I took my kids there and we swam in it, and then I took my grandkids there and we swam there at that fishing hole. It was just way back on the edge of the wilderness and right at the edge of the divide between California and Nevada. It was way back there. And it burned even beyond that. It burned that whole area and even beyond. And I have some drone footage of that. So it's gonna probably take me a couple more days to get that one together, just because I'm looking through lots and lots of videos and pictures so that I could have comparison shots, because I really want to show the comparison shots just so everybody gets a real idea, because this was the worst fire ever. The biggest fire I ever heard of around here was 65,000 acres, and that's a big fire. Well, this one was 650,000 acres. It was off the chart. It actually burned 65,000 acres in one night, on the very first night. So it's like biblical proportions. I mean, it's hard to go through the videos because, I mean, from a little kid, my parents would camp, and I kind of grew up over there in a playpen, you know, and grew up around there, and then when I got a little old enough, then I was hunting and everything there as a teenager with my parents, and then when I got adult, I hunted there all by myself. I would go 2 weeks at a time. That was before I knew about Bigfoot, and actually where we were was only a few miles from where I saw my first Bigfoot, and that area is all burned too. And I couldn't believe it. It burned bridges. Like it's actually a loop. It's called the Scenic Byway. You can look it up on Google. It's called the Scenic Byway. It starts with Minarets Road, and then it goes in to the farthest you can go on roads, and it dead ends, and then one road goes, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 more miles into the wilderness, and then it dead ends at trailheads that go over to Mammoth Lake and Mammoth Mountain, Nevada side. And then it turns into Basor Road. You turn left and you go on to Basor Road, and then that takes you on a loop all the way back down to Bass Lake and then to North Fork again. Well, we were going to do the whole loop, and we got back there to where we were over halfway, and we'd already been driving like maybe 3 hours to get there, and it wasn't. It would be faster going down Basor Road to get back down, and that's what we were banking on. But the bridges were burned out, and if we would have had a 4-wheel drive, we could have went. People had already made a 4-wheel drive road that crossed the creek and went, around the bridge, but we didn't. So we had to turn around and do that 3 hours back. And I was telling my wife, it was like driving to Oregon from here, that many hours, plus getting out and, taking video and stuff like that for everybody. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to all week. Blessed by God. God's good always, always, always. And trying to get that video edited. And I'm not going to get real elaborate on it. I just want to show comparison shots. And there was no wildlife. I think we saw a few squirrels, some birds, and that's about it. There was one place that used to be one of my favorite spots to stop at and like have a snack and go to the bathroom and all that. It's called Mile High Vista. Mile High Vista. You're exactly a mile high, And from there you can see the whole mountains, and it has little signs telling you what you're looking at. You know, the different mountains with the like Tom's Mountain has a fire lookout on it, and then there was another one behind me, and Eagle Beak, and it used to be the most beautiful shaded area, and it was one of those places where it was the first place we would stop on the way into the camp areas. And it was the first place when you got out of the car, you could smell the mountains, and I love that smell. Well, there was no trees, it was denuded completely, no shade, the wind was blowing off the charts, so I didn't take any mics or anything with me. I was running and gunning with the camera, and that's it. I I was kind of like in shock, so I don't know how well I was handling the camera. There might be some times where I was getting excited and not holding the camera steady and stuff like that, but I did, I was dumbfounded. I never seen a fire burn like that. Um, when I was a kid, some of that area had burned before, not like that, but my wife says, "Do you want to get us something to eat?" I guess if I have time. I don't know if she's listening. Hey, channel. But yeah, so I'll have that video. It's probably going to take me a couple more days, maybe 3 days. I have I have 4 hard drives full of videos and pictures and stuff like that, going back like 20 years in the area. And I'm going to try to pick the closest pictures that I could find of the areas, so that it kind of, you're not looking at one burned out area and then looking at a picture that's not really what I'm showing. So I'm going to try to get really close as I can. Never mind, I can make a grilled cheese. Okay, make a grilled cheese. I don't think she's listening to me though, but yeah, so Jeff, he touched on those Bigfoots tonight. The girl that got hurt by the Bigfoot. Isn't that amazing story? And it should scare everyone a little bit. I know that maybe some of the Bigfoots are, not out to hurt anyone, but I have a hard time believing that they're all inherently good. And you know, I don't know what to think about that, but I am definitely going to be doing more research, I guess, with Jeff, and we're going to go out there and we're going to investigate this and really check it out. I mean, we already been over the Kings River over and over and over. We've had rocks thrown at us, big rocks. And I guess Jeff and his buddies have too. They went out to a pond, and I didn't go because it was a lot of hiking. But they've had boulders thrown at them. Yeah, it is, Christian. I can't wait, man. This is like uncharted territory here. Like, I mean, it's not uncharted that we never been there, but only it's going to be like uncharted, the information that we get to check out and you know do is, look for and investigate is beyond what we thought, and it could be not good, like what we're looking for hurt people. So yeah, I can't wait for my sandwich. I still have, I didn't turn, I don't know what time it is, but I have like 42 minutes. I already went 19 minutes. Right on. Right on. Just make sure you hit the batting cage every so often, okay? And go out, and maybe your dad could buy you some kind of target to throw to pitch, because you're a pitcher. Maybe, just keep your arm good and hit the batting box regular, and you actually don't even really have to hit the ball, really. I learned a long time ago that you can you can pretend like you're seeing the ball. You can imagine it, and you can swing, and don't swing till you hurt yourself. But you can do that and do it like 100 times a night, and when you get back playing, you won't lose your edge at all. So just all you do, like you could do that with playing with golf. You can act like there's a ball on the ground, and you can envision it taking off going straight, and you'd be surprised when you get out playing a real game how good you will be, even though you're not hitting any balls at all. But if you swing the club like 100 times every night, you could turn yourself into a pretty dang good golfer. But that's cool because I look forward to. I haven't really got to tap into all the equipment yet, and I look forward to like putting this stuff to work. Yeah, yeah, you can. I hear something. I guess somebody's radio. I got here, there was nobody here. Now it's starting to get crowded, you know. I got here at the right time. I'm starting to get this laundromat thing down after 3 years, you know. But yeah, so they have good and bad, just like we do. Neither of mine were happy encounters, but I'm still unharmed after. See, that's how it is with me, too. Like, I grew up where I'm going to show you where all the burned areas are, and I'm going to show you a lot of real estate burned. But I grew up there, and I know it like the back of my hand. And I had things happen. Like, I had the feeling to run. I don't know how many times. I mean, as a kid, you know, hiking, I wouldn't even be far from camp. We would camp maybe a couple of 100 yards from the creek because it was a nice flat area. And then you had to walk down this dirt road and make a couple of turns where you couldn't see the creek and the parents couldn't see you. And I would get like out of view of the camp and almost to the creek. And then all of a sudden I would have a fear come over me that, you know, I had to run. And I would run back to camp, and they would laugh at me because I came, you know, running in there as fast as lightning, you know, and I wouldn't go to the only way I would go to the creek is if somebody went with me. But then the next day, everything, you know, nothing happened. And then there was times where we would be fishing the creek. Good night, Lori. We would be fishing the creek in the different ponds, you know, like there's little, what I guess, holes. And it would be like we would go upstream. So you're going uphill, and you would hit one little pool and fish. And if nothing happened, or you would get a couple, once you catch one or two trout, then they don't bite anymore. They're real cagey. And you have to sneak up on them. You have to crawl, you know, up to these little pools. But anyways, they were doing that. And every so often, not all the time, but every so often, big boulders would hit the pool either above us or below us, or below me. Sometimes I was all by myself, and you could hear the boulder hit the bottom of the creek, you know, and hit the rocks, the rocks in the creek. And it was so creepy. And you know, you write it off. I would you know, just rationalize everything away. But then once I saw, I think I was 27 years old, around 1987, I think. I was 27, and I watched that Bigfoot for almost 2 hours, and I couldn't believe it. There was while I was watching it, all the memories came flooding back of all the times where things happened to me. You know, trees got knocked over, branches got broken, rocks got thrown. You'd hear weird noises, you know, like retarded birds or something, you know, that you knew it wasn't a bird, but it sounded like a bird that you recognized, but it didn't sound like a bird, you know, like that bird. but unharmed. You're right, unharmed. And I don't know how many times it probably came in our camp. In fact, my dad's best friend, after my dad passed, I was with him when we saw the Bigfoot. We both watched it. And after the encounter, and we were, I wanted to go home. That scared the what out of me. You see something 12 feet tall, running faster than anything, like probably faster than a car. I mean, it was graceful, it was fast, it was massive. It wasn't supposed to be there. But when you encounter something like that, it scared me really good. And I don't think it knew we were there, but it still scared me. But when we later in the day, we're sitting up in the cab over camper and having some lunch, and he was telling me that was the fifth Bigfoot that he saw of his lifetime going up there. The fifth. And I thought, I actually got mad at him, like, how come you didn't tell me? Like, you should have been telling me that when I was a kid. And he's like, I wanted you, you don't have anything to worry about, is what he told me. He told me that as long as you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. And I was thinking, like, no, they messed with me all the time. I mean, they were throwing rocks and they tried to scare me all the time. I don't know how many times I ran, even as an adult. I would be deer hunting the side of a mountain and I never saw anything, but the fear would be so intense that I would run. I would absolutely run. Even with a pistol and a rifle, I ran like as fast as I could to get out of the area. And when the feeling left me, then that's when I would slow down. And then I would start laughing at myself that I'm so stupid, like that was so dumb. What was I doing, Hey, Bama, Alabama. But I've never been harmed. True. You forget your guns, you forget your camera, you forget everything. And then when you see one, you absolutely, well, when I saw it, I didn't forget my gun, my rifle. I had a 300 Weatherby Magnum Mark V, just for bear. And I had a bear tag. And I thought I was actually going to get a bear that day. I thought it was a bear. It was in the bush and it was moving the bush, shaking it violently. And I thought it was a bear hiding a kill, that, some food, a kill. And I almost shot it. I almost shot into the bush where I thought where the heart would be, by judging where the butt is. And I didn't talk to Big Mike, the guy that was with me. I just knew, from all training and everything, you don't shoot anything till you know for sure what you're shooting at, because it could have been anything. It could have been a human, or it was far enough away where I didn't know. But I was pretty excited. But when it stood up, then it was a man, and it was like, where'd that guy come from, Where'd he come from? There you go. I would have got the 7mm, but only I fell in love with the Weatherby 300 Magnum. We had a Winchester H&H 300 H&H also, and I just loved the Weatherby because it was so I reload my own rounds, and I could shoot 5 shots 300 yards, and I could cover it up with a nickel, all 5 shots. And I just loved it. I mean, it just felt good. The H&H was a little bit more heavier than the Weatherby. But my rifle that I carried most of the time was a Winchester Model 64 Sporter 30-06. That was my rifle I always that was the one I mostly carried all the time, was the Winchester. It was the pre 1964 30-06, and then I had a Remington 6mm. Uh, I had a whole bunch of rifles. Yeah, that's so cool, man. Down, you got to have a good gun with a pig. Those things are dangerous, almost more dangerous than a bear. Even though bears are pretty dangerous, the pigs are pretty dangerous too. If you wound them, they don't run away; they run at you. A bear might run away, but a pig is going to come at you, and maybe even the others with it. You tick them off, and they'll be right coming after you. Yeah, and then talking about getting hurt by Bigfoot, we've been going up to the spot where we always have something happening. Even this last time on Memorial Day, it was throwing rocks. I think it was actually trying to hit the microphone. It wasn't aiming for us, and it wasn't big rocks. It was little ones and little twigs and stuff, and a couple of tree snaps. And so, I mean, like, nothing ever really happened to us there either. So far, knock on wood, I don't have any to knock on. We're all safe. But what Jeff talked about tonight, man, now we're talking. This is going to get interesting because we're talking about in the valley floor, where the farmers are, where people live, where people recreate on the river. A couple of miles down, it's in a city. It's in a city of like 30,000 people, and the river runs through the city. These things are in there, in the city. So this is going to get interesting, and I'm going to go and do some research on the history. There has to be more history. There has to be. So I'm really going to dig into the history. I'll go to the library. I'm going to try to find some old guys that have lived there forever and see what they say. And I mean, my family. Jeff was talking about how he was raised in Sanger. My family is from Sanger. At least my grandma and my grandpa are from Sanger. My grandmother was Miss Sanger in like 1930 or 430 something. I mean, a long time ago. And so she was Miss Sanger a long time ago. And so I have a lot of roots in Sanger. And I am going to research this because I never thought to before. I never, you think you're going hunting for Bigfoot. Like where I saw him was right on that. It was the wilderness. It was a dead end road on a trailhead that went into the wilderness. I don't think I would shoot at him either. I don't think I could hurt him. I actually don't think. I think they have like the low frequency thing. I think that if they realize that you're shooting them or going to shoot them, not only will you be frozen in fear, but they'll put a fear on you that will freeze you. Like some kind of low frequency. I can't remember what they call it, but they'll send something on you that'll freeze you. It'll freeze you right in your tracks, and you can't move. And they move so freaking fast. Like I know a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about, but it's unnaturally fast. Yeah, infrasound. There you go. They hit you with that infrasound, and you'll be stuck in place. And they only need a few seconds, and they could travel 100 yards. Like before you could count to 3, they could be all over you. And all they have to do is freeze you for just that long, and then you're going to become a missing 411. You're going to be in the next book. That's what's going to happen. And I still, like, I think they're opportunists. Like maybe they weren't hungry and they were just messing with me. But I think if they were hungry, I don't think I would ever come out. I have my teacher didn't come back. I don't know if he walked through a portal or if they got him or if the aliens got him. I have no idea what happened, but he was only about 7 miles from where I saw Bigfoot. And they only found his Jeep and I think his fishing satchel. They didn't find his camera. He was going to take pictures and go fishing. They never found him. And it's been a while now. And he is in the Missing 411 book. I mean, oh my God. So I've heard so many stories around here of bluff charges, and we got bluff charged just the other night up at the spot. And we had the microphones on. I think it knew we were listening to them. I don't know how, but I think they did know. And we heard the footsteps, and you guys heard the footsteps. Jeff recorded it, and that thing ran up on us, and it was crazy, right at us, right at us. Let's see. Yeah, never go alone. I know they're rarely alone. I just from tracking over the years, like 30 years now, I've been Bigfooting. And the area where the video that I'm working on right now, most of my Bigfooting before I met Jeff and everybody, I thought I was the only one that seen a Bigfoot besides my family. And I did all my Bigfooting over where in the areas where I'm going to show you with that's burned now. But I figured out there was little ones and big ones, and I found tracks that were my size of a footprint, but in the wilderness. Like before I got hurt, I could hike and stuff like that, and I would hike up on the top of the ridges. And I had two things I was doing at the time. I was scouting for deer to see where they're running, because I knew the migration route of the deer, so I mostly stayed in the deer migration route. And actually, I found more Bigfoot sign in the deer migration. And they actually moved that, like, as the deer moved down to winter, out from the high altitude down into the lower altitude where below the snow line, I would find that they were like staying right with the deer, and I would find remains of deer like picked clean, and it was fresh. There was still like meat on the bone, but it was pretty much picked clean, except for like right in the joint areas or really close to the bone meat. And like the leg would be twisted off, and I never find the leg. I would just find the carcass, and one leg would be missing, and its neck would be turned, twisted. And I started thinking like, okay, so when they're hunting, they pull a leg off, and if there's like the whole group, one deer probably isn't enough for all of them. So they pull the leg off, and it keeps the deer alive. It keeps the meat fresh. And they go get some more, and then when they have enough, they take it back to where they're going to eat it, and that's when they snap the neck. Or if they're going to eat it right away, then they just snap the neck. But almost always, they didn't have a front leg. They never ripped the back leg off. I think it was because it had more meat on it, but the front leg would be ripped off at the knee, I guess you would call it. And sometimes I would only find the leg. Like I would find a leg, but I couldn't find any other part of the deer, just the leg. And sometimes I found them stuck in trees, like the hoof would be stuck into a tree, and it just was weird. I mean, that gives you a chill right there. whatever's strong enough, first of all, to rip a leg off, and then to stab it into a tree and have it stick in a tree. Oh my God. That'll that'll send goosebumps up and down your spine, you know what I mean? And it was way back then that's when I decided that they weren't necessarily nice. They were wild and unpredictable. So much so, that like maybe they were messing with me. We've had deer taken from us when we were deer hunting. My dad always told me that he thought some other hunters got it, okay? But we would shoot a deer like maybe almost right before dark and, not get a really good shot. Because if you gut shoot a deer, it'll run for a ways before, and it'll try to get itself buried into the bushes so you can't find it. Hopefully it dies before it gets into the deep buck brush. But we've had the deer gone. Like you find the blood trail and you find where it fell down and it was dead, but there was no deer. And my dad kept saying that a hunter got it, but he actually never saw a Bigfoot. His best friend would, but he never told anybody because he thought people would make fun of him, even including my dad. That's why he never told anyone, because he said the people he ever did tell made fun of him. And I didn't care. Like I told him, I'll tell anyone. I do not care if they make fun of me. And I didn't. And he told me right then, if you ever tell anyone that I saw a Bigfoot with you, he goes, I'm going to deny it to your face right there. He goes, I am not going to be made fun of. It was like, okay, then I'm not going to say you saw it, but I'm going to say I saw it, and they can laugh all they want, because one day the truth will come out, and I'm going to be one of the people that's going to get that truth out, because my whole hunting thing changed, from hunting animals for food and harvesting, to put in your freezer, to finding these guys, not to shoot them, but maybe to get a picture of them. I started carrying a 35 millimeter camera with I had lenses hanging off of me. Never saw anything when I had the camera, but I did see them when I had the gun. And it seemed like they didn't care I had a gun. And I started carrying, I had a Super Blackhawk 41 Magnum, and I started carrying that with the 300 Weatherby, and it seemed like they did not care at all. They would just look at me and walk away. But I have the creepiest feeling in the whole world, though. At the time, I seen one jumping. And we were stalking some deer. It was me and Big Mike, and we had 6 deer that we were stalking, and we didn't see the buck. Yeah, you need an elephant gun, man. That's what you need in it. I would say that even if you have a gun, they have powers that I didn't know about then, that I am over the years I've learned about. What am I washing today? I'm washing clothes. My wife actually does the washing. I help her, sort and all that kind of stuff, and then I take it to the laundromat, and I probably have like 3 more minutes and then I gotta go. So is there anything you guys want to know about? Like, ask me some questions or anything that I talked about that you guys have been pretty quiet. Maybe there's something you want to know. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie. I haven't shit my pants yet, or the other thing, but I have come close. Definitely have come close. Like the day that we were at the spot and it roared from probably half a mile away, and it vibrated my whole body. So yeah, let's see, what does it say? Whoops. Losing the camera. Your stepdad left me hanging, and my friend at age 11 made fun of us himself. Sick attitude. Yeah, that kind of sucks, man. I didn't use fabric softener, but hey, what's going on? Did I switch the camera or something? I don't know what I'm doing. Aha! Um, yeah, I didn't use. I just used the little what do you call it? It's the little things you throw in the dryer sheets or whatever you call it. I live in Central California, and actually the last few years since we found out Bigfoot was in the valley, on the valley floor, I've been mostly Bigfooting 20, 30 minutes from my house, believe it or not. Me and Adolf still go driving up the hills, and we find tracks, but we're like looking for everything. We're looking for gold. We're fishing. Adolf likes to fish. I'm not so much the fisherman anymore, only because I'm more interested in what might be lurking. We found tracks all around, up and down the Kings River, the creeks that feed the river. We found tracks in there of all sizes. I mean, big ones, little ones. I don't cast the tracks. I just don't. I don't. Everybody has track casts, and I never did make castings. I take pictures of them. Wow, Ontario. I would love to go up there and hike around, or it's beautiful up there. Oh yeah, Mount Shasta. Yeah, I lived in Oregon for a while, so I'd drive back and forth between Oregon and where I live now, and you have to drive right by Shasta, and then there was a few times we went up there, and we got some deer tags and elk tags, and we were over there hunting. So yeah, and that was before I knew about Bigfoot, though. The first time I ever really heard about Bigfoot, that was besides the TV, okay, on TV and Patty and all that stuff. It was actually 1980, and Mount St. Helens blew up, and my neighbor was a hotshot firefighter, and he got called up to go search for people that had been, for people that are alive or dead from the volcano from Mount St. Helens. So, and when he was told to report at a certain area, and when he got there, it was military controlled, and there was a helicopter sitting there idling, and there was a big net on the ground next to the helicopter with a pile of bodies on it. He thought it was bears. And when he got there, hey, Night Rider, fire dude. Yeah, he thought it was bears, and when he got there, he was stopped. They'd set up a little checkpoint, and they weren't letting people go through while that helicopter was right there. And he said about 10 minutes after he got there and was talking to the guard at the gate, and they set up one of those little things, little gate things they could raise up and down by hand. But he said the helicopter powered up and then took off, and it came towards him. He said it was probably like 200 yards away, and it came towards him, and it was lifting, gaining altitude, but the net was probably 15 feet above his head as it went over him. And he said there was hands and feet hanging out of the net, big giant hands and feet. And when he came back, I kind of made fun of him, but I didn't want to make fun of him too bad, because he was a cool guy. and but only it was too much for me, you know. It was like, really, like a whole pile of Bigfoots in a big net, you know, like really. And then I've heard way more stories since then, and I believe him, you know, because I've heard other people tell the same story, and so I know it was real. I know it was. I mean, I see my own now. Now I know for sure, you know, they're there. They're all over the place. There's more than one. They run in like clans or families in, you know, multiple units of like 3 to 5 of them, maybe even more. I don't know. You know, I don't know. I mean, there could be way more. I did a lot of research when I was in Oklahoma. They have a lot of them in Oklahoma. My mother-in-law just saw one last year, and she messaged me and she's like, "You need to get over here." You know, it was only like a quarter mile from my driveway, and I was like, "Wow, that's for sure." And I think once you see them, I think you're susceptible to see them again. I think they know. I don't know how they know, but I think they know. And I think for sure they're interdimensional, because I've tracked them. I don't know how many times. And the first time I freaked out when I was tracking them, I was on top of a ridge. It was probably, I'm saying 9,000 feet, okay, above the tree line. It was real. It was decomposed granite, but only it was like sand on the top of this ridge, and it was hundreds of yards, no boulders, no trees, just real smooth decomposed granite. And I tracked it, and it was walking like a tightrope. It had probably a 6 foot stride. It was probably like a size 13 shoe. That was what was tripping me out. It wasn't a big one, it wasn't a little one, but I never seen one that size at the time yet. You know, it was like my first time seeing one that little, and I was tripping out, and I followed it. And when it got in the middle of the ridge at the top, in the middle of that big old wide open area, the track ended. And I started making circles, bigger and bigger and bigger, and finally was getting to boulders and stuff like that were a couple hundred yards from the track. And I knew there was no way, you know, I couldn't pick the track up again. And I didn't know what happened to it. I started thinking, you know, did it fly? Did a UFO pick it up? You know, like, I was tripping out on that. Yeah, it was something about the size of Shaquille O'Neal's feet. Yeah, about. Like, I'm gonna go like 7 more minutes. It'll be an hour, and then I'll go get. I know my clothes are dry. I'll get in trouble if they're wrinkled, so I gotta hurry. Yeah. Well, I just watched a video that I shared it with Adolf. I think I shared it on my Facebook. I can't remember his name. Scott Carpenter, I think, put it out about the portals, and he shows what Brenton Sawn talked about, the elephant nose dude. I can't remember what they called him, but there's one in the portal that Scott Carpenter showed, and a Bigfoot in the portal. And Adolf, the other one, last summer we went to an area, him and his cousin, yeah, Darrow, there you go, Darrow. Him and his cousin were fishing the creek, and I was exploring for tracks and sign and tree breaks and structures and stuff like that. And all of a sudden they came running back, and it was time to go. You know, they didn't see anything like physically, like anything like a Darrow or a Bigfoot or anything. They saw the portal, and they saw it opening, and it freaked them out. And they came running back. Me too, man. That dude was one cool dude. I chatted with him a lot of times behind the scenes, helping him with his YouTube channel, about how to set it up and how to do things. And he was really a cool guy. They can't build on the spot and it remains a park. Oh, wow. That's a trip. Yeah, one of the things that I trip out on, that I think we're helping the government, and that bothers me because when I went on I actually worked for oh yeah, they will. I'm native, so I have an inside on the native. I worked at Indian gaming casino, and my wife's quarter Cherokee card carrying as well, and so I mean I have lots of natives to talk to. I know all of them, and I mean I took Finding Bigfoot to Thule Reservation to the Bigfoot painting on the rock. Nobody could go there. You just can't drive up to that. And I actually arranged it for Finding Bigfoot to get there, and then they blew it. They sat down with some elders. I mean, this is what the deal was. They had to share some of the elders' stories and some of their culture about the Bigfoot, which I thought was cool. And then when they aired the show, all they showed was them standing in front of the painted rock talking about they're standing at Mecca. And then they didn't share one story from the elders. And now the elders, they had a council meeting and they said, okay, no more cameras, no more people, no more TV people at the rock. So I could still go and I can take pictures, and stuff like that with our family, but no more anything with TV people anymore, because they ruined it by not showing their culture and what they teach about the Bigfoot and stuff like that. So that kind of upset me a little bit, and they made fun of me, but I don't care about me so much. But I didn't like being used for that to get to the rock. If I would have known that's what they were doing, I would have not made arrangements for them to see that rock, because there's no way they could see it without knowing somebody. You're a real cool dude, huh? Really? Mr. Official Mod. Goodbye, Official Mod. I'm the Official Mod. Oh, I forgot, all you guys are all mods. I made everybody a mod. Go get them. I'll make everybody a mod. Yeah, pretty pathetic. I'm not doing anything to hurt anyone. I don't know why people have such a mean, weird streak. The world's getting weird, and we're going to see a lot of weirdness coming, you guys. We're going to learn the truth about all this stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to learn more than about aliens, more than about, we're going to see some stuff that's going to shock people so bad. That's so funny, man. I forgot I did that. I was thinking, oh man, I got to get this guy off of here. Maybe I can make Bike Channel a mod. Let me see. No, I can't hear it. Later on, I'll make you a mod, Bike Channel, because I like to see everybody with a ranch. I just think it's cool. I just think it's cool. I like seeing it. Well, you guys, I have 30 seconds. I'm going to pray for everybody with cancer one more time. We pray that cancer, from anyone listening or anyone that has a friend or a relative with cancer, we're praying for them. And in the name of Jesus, we command the cancer to die. And we command their body to heal supernaturally in Jesus' name. And then I pray for every one of you that are live and every one of you that will listen later and hear this. I pray that you be blessed abundantly in every area of your life, your health, whatever problems you have supernaturally get taken care of. If you need finances, it'll be supernaturally taken care of. God has you. I pray for every single one of you in that way in Jesus' name. And I love every one of you guys. You guys are the best. Maybe not, what's his name, Supermod or whatever his name was. I pray for him that his eyes open and he sees the truth in Jesus' name. All right, you guys, I shall see you soon. Be looking for that video of the burned out area probably in a couple, like 2 or 3 days, okay? I love all of you, and we'll see you soon.